Rain lashed against the corrugated metal of the wrecked atmospheric processor, each drop a tiny hammer blow against Lieutenant Chen's skull. She awoke with a gasp, the metallic tang of blood thick in her mouth. Disorientation clung to her like the damp air. Her head swam, images flickering, Rey's panicked face, Silva's scream, the eerie jade glow of the xenos. Thorne! She tried to sit up, a wave of nausea forcing her back down. The interior of the processor was dimly lit by emergency lighting, casting long, distorted shadows. Juice lying on a pile of salvaged blankets, rough against her skin. Her arm throbbed, a dull, persistent ache that suggested a fracture. A figure loomed over her. Reyes. His face was gaunt, his eyes wide and bloodshot. "Lieutenant," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "You're awake. What happened?" Jess's voice was raspy. "You took a hit," Reyes said, avoiding her gaze. When Thorne moved you." Thorne. The name sent a fresh wave of dread through her. She remembered Thorne's placid expression, his unnatural calm as he seemingly shielded the xenos from the team. She remembered the sensation of a sharp pain in her shoulder, then nothing. "Where's Silva?" Reyes flinched. "He didn't make it. The xenos, they were fast." Guilt twisted in Jess's stomach. Silva's pragmatism, his unflappable demeanor, all gone. Another life lost to this cursed planet. She forced herself to focus, to push aside the grief and the fear. "Thorne, where is he?" Reyes hesitated. "He's in the central plaza, with them." The central plaza, the epicenter of the gravitational distortions, the apparent nexus of the xeno influence. Jessa felt a knot of ice form in her chest. Thorne willingly aligning himself with the enemy. It was incomprehensible, yet she's seen firsthand his unsettling tranquility. "What's he doing?" "We don't know," Reyes said, his voice barely a whisper. "He just led them there. He says they're showing him the way." "The way to what?" Reyes shook his head, tears welling in his eyes. "I don't know. He wouldn't say." Jessa struggled to sit up again, this time with slightly more success. Her arm screamed in protest, but the pain was a distraction from the swirling chaos in her mind. She needed to assess the situation, to formulate a plan. But first, she needed to understand what had happened to Thorne. "What about communications?" she asked, hoping against hope. Reyes' shoulders slumped further. "Still down." Thorne, he disabled them. Said it was interfering with the harmony. Harmony. That was Thorne's new favorite word, a chilling euphemism for something utterly alien and terrifying. Jessa took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus on the immediate task at hand. They were isolated, outnumbered, and their second-in-command had seemingly joined the enemy. But they were still alive, and as long as they were alive, there was a chance. "We need to move," she said, her voice regaining some of its authority. "We need to get to the plaza. We need to find out what Thorne is doing and what he knows." Reyes looked at her, his eyes filled with fear and exhaustion. "But they're everywhere. It's a trap." "It might be," Jessa conceded. "But we can't just sit here and wait to be found. We have a responsibility to this colony, to the rest of the TCDF. We need to do something." She stood, wincing as pain shot through her arm. Reyes helped her to her feet, his support a welcome relief. She glanced around the processor, taking in the wreckage and despair that permeated the air. "We move quietly," she said, her voice low and urgent. "No unnecessary noise. We stick to the shadows, and we watch each other's backs." She pointed to a darkened doorway. "Reyes, you take point. Keep an eye out for any sign of movement, and pray to whatever gods are listening that we may get through this." They moved out of the processor, stepping into the relentless rain. The forest loomed before them, a wall of impenetrable darkness. The sound of dripping water and rustling leaves was punctuated by a distant, unsettling hum. As they entered the tree line, Jessa felt a strange sensation, a tingling in the back of her neck, a feeling of being watched. She scanned the surrounding trees, but saw nothing. "Did you feel that?" she asked, her voice very audible above the rain. Reyes shook his head. "Feel what?" "A feeling, like we're being observed." Reyes looked at her with a mixture of concern and exasperation. "You're probably just stressed, Lieutenant. You took a heavy blow to the head." Jessa ignored him. Her sense is on high alert. The feeling persisted, growing stronger with each step. She felt a presence, something alien and malevolent, lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. They moved deeper into the forest, the rain intensifying, the darkness deepening. The unsettling hum grew louder, resonating within their very bones. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Thorne. He stood calmly in the center of a clearing, bathed in the eerie green light emanating from the trees. Around him, the xenos stood motionless, the jade skin glistening in the rain. He smiled, a disturbingly placid expression on his face. "Lieutenant Chen," he said, his voice smooth and unctuous. "I've been expecting you." Jessa braced herself, her hand instinctively reaching for her sidearm. She could feel Reyes trembling beside her. "Thorne," she said, her voice tight with suppressed anger. "What are you doing? Why have you joined them?" Thorne's smile widened. "I am not joining them, Lieutenant. I am merely facilitating their arrival. They have shown me the truth. They have revealed the path to enlightenment. Enlightenment," Jessa spat the word out. "These are xenos. Thorne. These invaders. They've killed Silva. They've taken over this colony." Thorne's eyes flickered with a brief flash of something that might have been sadness, but it was gone in an instant. "They are not invaders, Lieutenant. They are liberators. They have come to free us from our ignorance, from our limitations." He gestured towards the xenos behind him. "They offer us a chance to transcend our mortal existence, to become something more." Jessa felt a wave of nausea wash over her. Thorne had completely lost himself, consumed by the xeno influence. She knew she had to do something, but she didn't know what. "This is madness, Thorne," she shouted. "You're betraying everything you stand for." Thorne's smile never faltered. "You simply do not understand, Lieutenant. You are blinded by your fear, by your attachment to the old ways." He raised his hand, and the xenos began to advance. "Stand down, Thorne," Jessa yelled, tightening her grip on her weapon. But it was too late. The xenos were upon them. Reyes let out a cry of terror and fired his weapon, but the shot seemed to have little effect. The xenos moved with unnatural speed and agility, dodging the bullets and closing the distance. Jessa fired her own weapon, managing to strike one of the xenos, but it barely seemed to register. The alien simply continued its advance, its jade skin glistening in the rain. She knew she was outnumbered, outmatched, but she wouldn't go down without a fight. As the xenos closed in, Jessa saw something that made her blood run cold. Standing behind Thorne, partially obscured by the rain and the shadows, was a massive, monolithic structure. It was dark, impossibly smooth, and radiated an unsettling energy that seemed to resonate deep within her soul. It looked like something that shouldn't exist, something ancient and alien, something profoundly wrong. And as she stared at the monolith, she felt a strange compulsion, the desperate urge to approach it, to touch it, to become one with its unsettling power. She fought against the urge, clinging to her sanity, to her sense of self. But the monolith's influence was strong, almost irresistible, and as the xenos closed in, she felt herself losing control, slipping into a darkness from which she might never return. The last thing she saw before the darkness consumed her was Thorne's serene, unsettling smile.